Yes. Back with a single 1-round mock here with my boy J-Wack. This is
It's been a
this is
year in
great.
the
I
making.
could cry. I could cry right now, honestly.
This is amazing.
This is fantastic. I'm a little bit more gung ho better than you, but you're always very even keel. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I mean, if we're starting with me at number one, pretty self-explanatory here with the Tennessee Titans. Every single move that they've made this offseason kind of just points to them taking Cam Ward at number one overall. And
Yeah.
not only that, I mean, I saw, I don't know how true the rumors are that they're looking to actively trade Will Levis. I don't know what you're going to get back from Will Levis other than like a, a soda vendor to be named later and a bag of peanuts, but I don't really know
Mhm.
like what you're going to get from him. But
Could be like
yeah,
the Kyle Korver trade where he was traded for a fax machine.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you're not going to get anything back from Will Levis. Like
Yeah.
it's maybe like a carton of mayo or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. We don't even have to speak on this. I think Cam Ward is the obvious number one pick here.
Yeah, I mean there were talks coming into the cycle that maybe it would be Shedeur Sanders. I think those talks have pretty much died. I think Cam Ward is the consensus top quarterback in the class, as he should be. Really good arm, athletic. I like his fit to Tennessee. And they've got the infrastructure there to support a rookie quarterback. So I like that fit for them. Pick two for the Browns. They are so difficult to draft for here because they've got a lot of needs. I don't really think they're in the quarterback market, though. I mean, Shedeur Sanders is a good quarterback. I like him. He's accurate. I think he's just too risky to take at number two overall. I think I am going to go. Man, this is tough, but I think I'm going to go Travis Hunter here because they got a need at receiver. You got Jerry Jeudy, who played well last year. And then the cornerback room, Greg Newsome was in trade talks. Martin Emerson didn't have an incredible season. Denzel Ward, I believe, is 30 now. So you're going to need to upgrade the cornerback room sooner rather than later. I think no matter where you decide to play Travis, he is going to be a starter for this team and one of the best players in this class. So I'm going to take Travis Hunter here at 2.
Here's what I think happens after that. So I'm kind of glad that you did that because I feel like I feel like the only, even though Abdul Carter is on the board here at number 3 for the Giants, I mean, I love that fit. Here's where I think it gets a little irresistible. I really do think a sleeper team to trade up for someone like Abdul Carter, if Abdul Carter gets past the first 2 picks, is the Carolina Panthers. I think that would just be, they've obviously dedicated a lot of time, effort, and resources into trying to revamp this pass rush and this defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would make a lot of sense. Now, you could just sit and pick at number 8 and possibly even potentially get Mason Graham. But I think that if you sit at number 8, you risk that drop off from an Abdul Carter and a Mason Graham to those secondary and tertiary edge rushers and defensive tackles. So I feel like why not make a trade up to number 3 or number 4? I would probably say I don't think this pick is Shedeur Sanders, to be quite honest with you. I 100% agree with what you said about Sanders with Cleveland. And I think the Giants signing Jameis Winston to a 2-year contract as opposed to a 1-year contract for me makes it think that he's going to be the starter. They're going to roll with Jameis throughout the entire season. And they're just going to try and, shoot the shot for the 2026 draft. That's honestly what I think is going to happen because then, best case scenario, you land a raw potential type of guy that you want to develop, and you have Jameis Winston there for another year to start, if that's the case.
Yeah.
So I don't think that this is a Shedeur Sanders pick. Abdul Carter makes so much sense for them too, though. But if the Carolina Panthers come calling with a trade scenario, I think moving down from 3 to 8 and potentially picking up, a day 2 pick in this draft and a day 2 pick next year or something like that really benefits the Giants going forward. This is a roster that really isn't that close to competing. I think you need as many premium picks as you can get. We're gonna make this trade here. All right, so we did make the trade here. Abdul Carter is going to be a Carolina Panther. It took number 74 from this year and a second round pick next year. So quite a bit to move up from 8 to 3, but honestly, that is a trade. As long as I'm not giving up first round picks or even a second round pick this year, I feel like that's a pick that a lot of teams would make, especially for a player of Abdul Carter's ability. I think that he's the best player in the entire draft class. And if I'm getting him at 3 for the cost of 74 and a second next year, I think that's perfectly fine with me.
Yeah, I love that selection. Carter is just a freak athlete, and The Panthers have been aggressive in trying to improve that defense. I think Abdul Carter, dare I say, they have a very legitimate chance to contend in that division next year, especially with how Bryce Young played down the stretch. I would love this move for Carolina. We're on the board here for the Patriots at 4, who've had a really great offseason improving the defensive side of the ball. But the offense is an area that is it still has its question marks right now. They didn't really bring in any wide receiver help. I know they brought in Stephon Diggs for a visit and they brought in Matt Collins, but those guys aren't moving me in that wide receiver room. I just don't love the way that the board has fallen. And I just think, I don't know if I would take Tetrell McMillan here at pick 4. I would explore a trade down scenario. I had the Saints trade up here in a recent mock that I did to get Armand Mimbu. This is a tough spot to be in, and I just don't really see there being a suitor for a team moving up. So ultimately, I think I am going to stick and pick here, and I'm just going to go with Tetrell McMillan. I think he is one of the best players in this draft class still. He's got phenomenal ball skills, great hands for the position. Maybe not the fastest or most elite athlete in the world, but he's just a weapon for Drake May to get the football to. He's got great hands, like I mentioned. He can win the 50-50 balls. I'm a big fan of T-Mac, and I think he's going to be a great fit for this Patriots offense.
I'm surprised you didn't go Will Campbell there. That leaves quite the realm of possibility for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, hear me out. I know that they have Brenton Strange is essentially going to take over as the starting role for now the departed Evan Ingram. Is Tyler Warren at 5 so far out of the realm of possibility? I don't think that that's a scenario that I've really seen explored up until this point. I don't think I'm going to do it here at number 5, but I think if you're going to add, because it's no secret that the Jaguars need to add another weapon on the outside.
Yeah.
Why not kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone and get that weapon in Tyler Warren, because that's a big need for them too. I think that they're very high on Brenton Strange. I don't think that that's actually going to happen, but I think it's a scenario that up until this point I've never even considered. And I think it's something to consider as the draft gets closer. I do think what's his name, James Gladstone, the new GM, has really emphasized building through the trenches. Will Campbell being here is very interesting. But I think the defensive line needs much more of a revamp than the offensive line, even though they do need they have some holes to fill there as well. I think Mason Graham makes a ton of sense here at number 5. This is, far and away probably the best interior defensive lineman left on the board at this point. And I think he kind of fits exactly what the Jaguars need. So we're going to take him here at number 5.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Mason Graham. I saw at his pro day, I believe he weighed in at 306. So he was up from the 296 he was at the combine, which never concerned me to begin with. But yeah, he's awesome, and I think would be a great fit for this team. And now you've got a pass rush trio of Mason Graham, Josh Hines Allen, and Trayvon Walker. That's going to be a tough defensive line to go up against. Here at pick 6 for the Raiders, really interesting spot here. Ashton Genty has been mocked here a lot. I've done it myself a few times. I want to change it up a little bit in this mock and go a different route. You lost Nate Hobbs in free agency. The secondary has been an area of concern with the Raiders. Will Johnson, I love, but I am going to go with Jahdae Barron because I think he can play that slot role that you lost with Nate Hobbs. He also can play on the boundary. He's super instinctive, really athletic, has good ball skills, can do a little bit of everything for you in the secondary. He's a former safety. Then he's played in the slot, played on the boundary this past year for Texas, won the Thorpe Award. He is a very, very good defensive back. And for the Raiders, we know Pete Carroll, the secondaries that he has had to work with in the past. I think going and getting a stud corner like Jahdae Barron would be a huge addition. So I'm going to make this pick here for the Raiders at 6.
Now, this is very interesting. Obviously, I'm a Jets fan. You guys know that. Josiah, you know that as well. This leaves a really wide open door for the Jets to trade down with 3 potential suitors, because a lot of people are going to sit here and watch this mock and go, why would you trade up for a running back in a running back heavy class? I think there's quite a bit of separation between Ashton Jeanty and everyone else in this class.
Yeah.
And I think a slight trade up here from Chicago would make a lot of sense. You have the Dallas Cowboys, who are right behind them, that could potentially want to trade up as well to get someone like Ashton Jeanty. I think that it would take far less for the Chicago Bears to move up a couple spots to just ensure that they completely rebuild this offense around Caleb Williams. We've seen it. They could probably stick and pick and maybe land someone like Will Campbell, but I don't know if Will Campbell gets past the Jets, the Giants, and the Saints. I think that they move up. Okay, so the trade here is a third round pick. It is 7 for number 10 and 71
Yes.
for the New York Jets. So the Chicago Bears move up. I think the blow is a little bit softened by the fact that the Bears have pick number 39 and pick number 41 as well. So I think they're more than willing to depart with that third round pick to move up a few spots to get their man. It's going to be G&T here. I mean, we just talked about it off camera, generational prospect. I know Will Campbell might make a lot of sense here. Braxton Jones has 1 year left on his contract. Will Campbell could even slide inside if needed as well. But G&T is the reason. G&T and the running game and Ben Johnson is the reason why you're rebuilding this offensive line. I think you go and you get the generational running back.
Yeah, I mean, I love this pick. I love Ashton Jeanty. I think this is a home run for the Bears. At pick 8 for the Giants, don't love the way the board has fallen.
Yeah.
I would entertaining trading back again. You've got a team like the Colts at 14 that might try and look to move up to go get Tyler Warren if he's on the board. You also could look to, if you decide to stick and pick, you could still go Shedeur Sanders here. I mean, I would much rather take Sanders at 8 than at 3. I would have loved Mason Graham here. I would have considered Ted McMillan here. Still think it's too high to go quarterback, but they do have holes on the offensive line, and Armand Membu is going to be my selection here. Played right tackle this past year at Missouri and was phenomenal. His tape is incredible. Whether you want to play him at right tackle this year, I also think he gives you guard flexibility. The guard position hasn't been incredible for the Giants. He just is a plug-and-play offensive lineman that can play right tackle, right guard for you. You can move Illuminor to either right guard or right tackle, wherever you decide to play opposite of Membu. And I think it just makes a lot of sense. You improve the offensive line and try to create a more stable infrastructure to if you do go draft a quarterback in round 2 or if you decide to go quarterback next year. I think going and improving the offensive line and improving the trenches probably makes the most sense here. So I'm going to pick Armand Membu at 8.
I love it. I love it. And it leaves me with quite a conundrum here at number 9 for the New Orleans Saints. I mean, a bevy of different ways that they can go. Will Campbell certainly makes a lot of sense here at number 9. Tyler Warren makes a lot of sense, even though they did extend Juwan Johnson. I'm looking at defensive line, though. I mean, it seems like for as long as I could remember, the New Orleans Saints have been trying to improve their pass rush outside of Cameron Jordan, and they just can't do it. Whether it be drafting Peyton Turner far too early, or whether it be Marcus Davenport a few years earlier than that, they just can't seem to get it right. And they like those heavier, athletic defensive ends. And this could be a massive overdraft here, but there is an extremely athletic, heavy defensive end that lit up the NFL Combine, and that's Shamar Stewart. And I think that's going to be my pick here.
Yeah, I love that pick. I know they love these versatile defensive linemen that can play inside, outside, and he's a perfect fit for the Saints. I really like that pick. You pick here.
No, you can go ahead. I want to see what you do, actually.
All right, so we're at 10. The Jets are on the clock here. I mean, I like the way the board has fallen for you
Don't
guys.
let me down, all right? I'm just letting you down.
I like the way the board has fallen. You've got, offensive weapons. If you wanted to go Tyler Warren, you could go Will Campbell, but I think you and I both agree, doesn't make sense drafting him and then moving him to the right side, which is where they have their biggest hole. Man, there's some players on the board. I don't hate going defensive interior here. I love Walter Nolan a lot, and I don't think this would be too high for him. But I'm going to go Tyler Warren. I think he's the best prospect on the board for them. They have a pretty gaping hole at tight end. They need a pass-catching weapon that can just be a stable piece in that offense with Justin Fields. I think he's a no-brainer here. I would have considered him at 7. If he's still on the board here at 10, I think I'd sprint the card in.
Thank you. I'm happy about that.
Okay.
After you broke my, I didn't say anything. After you broke my heart and you took Membu at 8, I was like, shit. What are we going to do here? It has to be Tyler Warren, but I wanted you to do it. I wanted it to be from you, not me. But yeah, number 11. I mean, we keep saying it for a bunch of different teams, but the board has fallen extremely nicely for the
Yeah.
San Francisco 49ers here. I mean, you got Will Campbell, you got Will Johnson. That's certainly a couple different ways that they can go. Walter Nolan is another one that I like quite a bit. But I think if you're the San Francisco 49ers here, I don't think that you anticipated Will Campbell being on the board at number 11. Also, Will Johnson, I mean, they've lost a ton. This has been one of the biggest losers of the offseason, in my opinion, for the
Yeah.
San Francisco 49ers. And Will Johnson, I think, fills a lot more holes. I know Campbell is probably going to be the heir to Trent Williams if he's drafted there. He can already start on the interior. They lost Aaron Banks. Actually, the more I'm talking myself into it, I think Will Campbell makes more sense here at number 11. So I'm going to take him.
Yeah. I mean, I love Will Campbell. I love everything about his game, whether he's a guard, whether he's a tackle, whether he's a center. I don't really care. I think he's going to be a Pro Bowl offensive lineman wherever he plays. And what a perfect scheme fit for Kyle Shanahan,
Yeah.
too. I mean,
Yeah.
this would be an absolute match made in heaven. At number 12 for the Dallas Cowboys, don't love the way the board has fallen for them necessarily, but they have so many holes, so many areas that I think they could look to improve. I think you just start on the offense, though. And I'm probably going to go with a wide receiver here. I don't make this pick often, but I think I'm going to go with Matthew Golden. You need another weapon. I don't know if you've looked at the Cowboys depth chart at the wide receiver position. It's not good outside of CeeDee Lamb. Matthew Golden, I think, is a really good fit. Fits opposite of CeeDee Lamb, a guy that can create separation really, really well. Great route runner, great speed. I think he's a great number 2 receiver for this team. Could play in the slot, could play on the boundary. I'm going to take Matthew Golden at 12.
Yeah, I love that. That's a pick that I've been making quite a bit lately. And I think it just makes a lot of sense. I think you're 100% in the offensive pick. I think it's either Matthew Golden or maybe even someone like Amarion Hampton at that spot.
Yeah.
I think it either way, I don't think that they could really go wrong. I think that's a fantastic pick. 13, you have the Miami Dolphins. And if you want to talk about a team that can go in so many different ways, you're probably talking about the Miami Dolphins here. There's one player on the board that I think fits a couple of their needs quite well right away, and that would be Kelvin Banks. I don't think this is too high for Kelvin Banks. We were speaking earlier today how we don't understand how Kelvin Banks has just fallen off of people's boards.
Yeah.
Still a fantastic prospect, very versatile, great numbers this past year. Don't understand where the hate is coming from, and I think you could second that as well.
Mhm.
But this is also a Miami Dolphins team that every time we think we have them pinned for what they're going to go with, I feel like they just kind of pivot and go the opposite direction. The secondary, they lost Javon Holland. They've steadily been losing pieces all over the secondary for quite some time. Cam Smith is also set to become their cornerback too, I'm pretty sure. And I don't think that that's really great, to be honest with you. He hasn't transitioned to the NFL well at all yet. I guess Cater Kohu as well could be your cornerback too. But either way, Cam Smith is going to be seeing the field quite a bit. I like Will Johnson here, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
Don't really know if that's the pick. I think Malachi Starks makes a little bit more sense for them here. I think they really prioritize safety play in that secondary, and I think Starks is someone that really could kind of step into that Javon Holland role and just eat right off the bat. And I think you're going to take Starks here at 13.
I love it. I really do. We talked about this off camera. He's still the top safety in the class to me.
Yeah.
And you lost Javon Holland. They just have been depleted this offseason. So, yeah, Malachi Starks is a great selection there. At pick 14, my Indianapolis Colts, there are a lot of players that I love on the board. John Campbell, Mike Green, Will Johnson, Colston Loveland down the board a little bit. Maybe you go on the offensive line or go Gray Zabel or Tyler Booker. There's so much talent left on the board that I'm going to actually trade back here and try and see if there is a team that wants to move up for one of these edge rushers. And the team that has caught my attention are the Los Angeles. No. No, I was thinking the Los Angeles Chargers move into this spot. You brought back Khalil Mack on a 2-year deal. You got Tuli Tuipulotu. I think they could look to go improve and add another piece in this edge room. You lost Bosa, so I'm going to try and make a trade down with the Chargers here. So we made this trade. The Chargers gave the Colts pick 22, pick 86, and pick 181 to move up for an edge rusher in this class. I love Mike Green in this class. I know there's some off the field concerns that happened dating back to his time at Virginia, which was in 2021. I'm not concerned about that. He seems to have matured, moved past it. He talked about it openly at the combine and admitted all the things. Mike Green is such a good football player. He wins with power. He wins with finesse. He is a awesome run defender, and you can put him in so many different alignments, and he is going to succeed. I would love this if I was a Chargers fan, and I'm going to make this pick here for them at pick 14.
Yeah, I love that. And you get someone that could right away replace Joey Bosa and at least stay on the field, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's such an electric, no pun intended, pick for them. It just seems like, I mean, even with Mac on the other side, who's still been uber productive for the most part, even in the latter half of his career. I mean, that's such a nice move there. Now, this is a choice for the Atlanta Falcons here at 15 because you have two players that they probably don't think are going to be on the board, Jahad Campbell and Will Johnson. I think they're a little bit more pressed for someone like Jahad Campbell than they are for Will Johnson. I mean, you think about it two different ways. Campbell is just someone that could take over the middle of your defense. He could take over that pass rushing linebacker role as well from Caden Ellis when the time comes. I mean, he's just a chess piece you could really put anywhere. But then you get Will Johnson, who Will Johnson and AJ Terrell forms easily the best duo in the secondary in the NFC South.
Yeah.
You know, it's tough. I think I love Jahad Campbell, but I think the Falcons don't expect Will Johnson to be here, and the fact that he fell into their lap, and the fact that it could make them a great duo, I think they have to take Will Johnson here. And he doesn't have to be, if there are speed concerns, quote unquote, he doesn't have to be that number one cornerback right away either. He could ease himself into the NFL game. I got to take Will Johnson at 15.
I love it. I love that pick. At 16 here for the Arizona Cardinals. Shout out our guy Michael Marlowe. But man, this is a really interesting spot because I think Arizona's had a pretty good offseason, to be quite honest with you. Bring in Josh Sweat, bring in Dalvin Tomlinson. I don't think they need to go defense here with their first pick. And I'm not going to take credit for this. I was watching TFG and he made this pick. I love this pick for Arizona. I'm going to go Gray Zabel here for them because the left guard spot is Evan Brown right now. I think you could definitely look to upgrade that spot. He is one of the most versatile offensive linemen in the class, whether you want to play him at tackle, guard, center. We saw how good he was when he kicked inside at the Senior Bowl, was one of the most dominant players on the field. I think if you can go and take a versatile lineman to just improve this run game, which Drew Petzing loves to run, I think this would be a home run. So I'm going to take this for Arizona and just go a little bit out of the blue here, something I haven't done before.
Yeah, I like that pick, and it makes a lot of sense. I mean, Arizona has definitely found their franchise left tackle in Paris Johnson.
Yeah.
He was fantastic for them last year. I think that's a huge sigh of relief for them, where they could really start to build the interior of this offensive line as well. And you know, hell, if Zabel doesn't work out on the interior, he can kick out to right tackle. You know, I think that's a fantastic pickup for them, and very under the radar too. That would I feel like that would really improve them, and I feel like not a lot of people would truly see that right away. The Bengals here, now it's all about defense, defense, defense. If you are the Cincinnati Bengals,
Yeah.
Joe Burrow got exactly what he wanted. He got his two guys. The three of them combined account for like 45% of the cap. So you're going to have to see, this is kind of the way that teams used to build their teams. You would draft and pay your offensive players, and then you would draft your defensive players. But the only problem is the Cincinnati Bengals have not done that very well the last couple of years. I think any way that you go on the interior of the defensive line here, I think is a win for them.
Yeah.
You know, you can get a Walter Nolan, you can get a Kenneth Grant. Going to go a little outside the box here. I'm going to take Derek Harmon at 17.
Okay.
I think Harmon is the best of both Kenneth Grant and Walter Nolan. And I think he's incredibly disruptive. And that's the type of defensive tackle that the Cincinnati Bengals haven't had since DJ Reader left.
Yeah.
And I think he just fits perfectly in that defense.
I love that. Derek Harmon's one of my favorite prospects in this class, and I think he would be a great fit for Cincinnati. At 18, man, I want to go receiver for Seattle so bad, but you got Luther Burden and you got Emeka Egbuka as the two guys. I don't really know. Like we talked about this a little bit. I think Burden probably could play on the boundary,
Yeah,
but I think he's more of a guy that's going to win from the slot. I believe, yeah, 508 of his yards this past season came from the slot. So probably going to pass there as much as I love the talent. And I am going to go with a pick that I feel like has just become synonymous with Seattle at this
I think
point.
I already know where you're going
I'm
here.
going Nicky Manwari. I think it makes so much sense for this team. We know that Mike McDonald loves to run multiple safety packages. He loves these versatile athletic safeties that can play in the box. That's what Nicky Manwari can do. He can play anywhere along the defensive backfield, and he is just going to be a defensive coordinator's like best friend because you can use him in so many ways. I've made this pick so many times, and if he's on the board at 18, to be quite honest with you, I think it's a pick Seattle would make. So I'm gonna take him here for Seattle.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I was actually surprised that you didn't say either Tyler Booker or even Jahad Campbell since he was on the board, and we know that Seattle loves drafting linebackers early. Um, I'm gonna say this pick doesn't even need an explanation. If you know, you know. Jahad Campbell to the Bucks just makes too much sense here.
Yeah, yeah. They Todd Bowles loves the blitzing linebackers as well. I mean, we talked about this a little bit off camera, but everyone that wants to profile him as a blitzing linebacker, he is one of the most impressive linebacker prospects I've
Yeah,
ever studied
yeah.
in just the way that he can blitz. Yes, he's a great athlete, but he's also so instinctive in coverage. And I love Jihad Campbell, love his game. Would be a home run for
I
Tampa
mean,
Bay.
you go from you go from one of the most underrated linebackers over the past how many years in Tampa Bay?
And at least,
10, 11, 12 years straight into Jihad Campbell. I
yeah,
mean, you can't. Levante David is one of the most underrated players in NFL history. I'll just go out and say that.
yeah, absolutely. I agree. At number 20 for the Broncos, I'm going to go another position that's a sneaky need for this team. They've got a lot of pending free agents next year on the interior of the defensive line. I'm going to take Walter Nolan for this team, a guy that I think can be
Wow.
that penetrating three tech for them. A lot of Broncos fans in my 7 round Broncos mock were talking about, I think you should have taken a defensive interior. So I hear you, Broncos fans. We're going to go with Walter Nolan here at 20. I think in the offseason, I have made this quote so many times every time I talk about him, but I remember talking to you about this, and I said Walter Nolan is one of the most athletic defensive linemen I have ever seen, and I stand by that. He's got versatility, great burst off the line of scrimmage, and I still feel like he hasn't figured it out as a pass rusher yet, and he still was everywhere in the backfield for Ole Miss this past season. He's an awesome player. I'm going to take him to Denver at 20.
All right, so I did trade up from the Houston Texans here. The Pittsburgh Steelers, in my opinion, I said off camera to JWAC. I think the Steelers at 21 after that and Walter Nolan pick hold a tremendous amount of value for the teams below the Pittsburgh Steelers. Kenneth Grant is still on the board. There's a bunch of insanely talented pass rushers, great offensive linemen, great pass catchers as well. Now, I guess you could say that JWAC talked me out of it. I was going to trade up number 21 for the Houston Texans for Luther Burden. I think it would be amazing. Nico Collins and Luther Burden. Yes, they have Christian Kirk. Yes, Tank Dell will be coming back. But Nico Collins also gets hurt a ton. So does Christian Kirk. And we don't know if Tank Dell is ever going to be the same. But also, you have to be able to throw the football. You need time to throw the football. Kelvin Banks is still on the board. There are a couple teams here that I think could potentially take Kelvin Banks here. I think we're going to move up to take Kelvin Banks at number 21 for the Houston Texans. Now, I know that's a move that maybe you could say you could stick and pick at 25 and he'll still be there. I don't want to take any chance, especially with 2 third-round picks. All it took was 21 and 89, 25 and 89 to move up to number 21. I think you make that pick and you get one of the best offensive linemen in the entire class.
Yeah, absolutely. At 22 for the Colts, again, I mean, I would be in heaven right now if the board fell this way. This is a dream. All the players on the board, and they got the extra draft capital to move back. I think with the way the board has fallen, I'm kind of between 2 players, and I want your opinion on them. Colston Loveland, obviously, we know tight end, big need for this team. I'm also considering Tyler Booker. You lost Will Fries in free agency. You You brought in a couple of, I think they have Dalton Tucker right now as the starting guard. That's not going to fly. I think it's a deep enough tight end class to where I would feel comfortable waiting, and I might just take Tyler Booker here at 22.
Yeah,
Is
I
that what
was
you're
going to say,
thinking?
I mean, I'm a big now. Everyone again always looks too far into the numbers. If you watch Tyler Booker on film, you know that he was never going to be that super athletic guard. So I don't know why people were surprised that he had like a 3.8 RAS score. He's not that type of run and gun type of guard, but he is a brick wall of a human being that in pass protection, you don't have to worry about him. He's someone that I feel like you could plug and play on your offensive line for the next 8 to 10 years, and you don't have to worry about him. And the Colts and the Colts fans know what it's like to operate with a bad offensive line. I don't think you guys
Yeah.
want to go down that route again. I think you make the smart decision and you take Tyler Booker here.
Yeah, my one concern with Booker is how is he going to coexist with Quentin Nelson in like the rushing attack? But I think Shane Steichen is a smart enough offensive coordinator to figure it out, and he is like you said, a brick wall. And he just
Yeah.
moved people, so I like this for Indy at 22.
The Green Bay Packers here at 23, interesting board. James Pierce, who I don't think makes a lot of sense here, to be quite honest with you. Donovan Ezeraku is a player that I love, and I believe you mocked him there, correct?
I did.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic pick as well. I think offensive line could sneakily be a pick here just for some reason because the Green Bay Packers, for some reason, always love offensive line. I'm going to go outside the box here. I think that secondary is a massive need here for them. And Trey Amos is the pick that I'm going to make here. I think we talked about it off camera. I love this pick. Trey Amos just feels like a Green Bay Packer pick, but someone that, like you said, is just so instinctual, great ball skills, good size. He's not going to blow you away with his athleticism, but you don't have to blow people away with your athleticism if you're a corner. Will Johnson doesn't blow people away with his athleticism either, and he's widely considered the best or the second best corner in the class. I think Amos very sneakily could be a first round pick when April comes around.
Yeah, I like that pick. Here at 24 for the Vikings, they are in a really tough spot because I think they only have 4 draft picks in the entire class. I'm trading back, and I'm going to have the New York Giants trade up here, trying to jump the Steelers to get a quarterback. All right, so we're here at 24. The board, or I guess the trade was a pretty big one. They traded 34, 74, which was a pick that they got back from the Carolina trade down. They moved a second next year and picked 105, but you're moving from the second round into the first round. And we're sending Shadur Sanders to New York City. I think the fall ends here. I think someone is going to try and jump Pittsburgh to go get their quarterback. I think Shadur Sanders would be an awesome pick for this team. At 24, I feel much better about getting Shadur Sanders than I would if I picked him at pick 8 or pick 3. But now you come out of this class with Armand Mimbu to be the right tackle for this team and Shadur Sanders. You have an improved offensive line. You've got Malik Neighbors to throw the football to. The Giants look like they have a competent roster for the first time in a long time. So I'm going to take Shadur Sanders here at pick 24 for the New York Giants.
I don't think that the Pittsburgh Steelers actually fret at that. I was actually going to go a different direction if you didn't make that trade anyway. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are quite enamored with Jackson Dart. And I think after trading back and seeing Shadur Sanders go right in front of them, I think that they don't waste any more time. They did acquire a little bit more draft capital. Amarion Hampton is someone that I think could make a little bit of sense here as well. Again, kind of a deep running back class. I think easily in the second or third round you could find someone. And this is also, besides for Najee Harris, this is a Pittsburgh Steelers team that doesn't really spend high draft picks on running backs. So I think you could hold off there. I think it's going to be Jackson Dart. I was going to say Jalen Milroe for a second, but I just think Milroe is still so raw, and there is no one in front of this rookie quarterback as of right now. I know they said that they're more than comfortable starting Mason Rudolph. I still think that's a crock of shit. Even if they bring in Aaron Rodgers, I still think they bring in a quarterback either in the first or second round. So we're at 25. They moved back. They gained a little bit of draft capital. You're still going to get your guy in Jackson Dart here at 25.
And I'll say this. I am not a Jackson Dart in the first round guy. I don't see it. But if there was one team that I think makes a lot of sense for Jackson Dart, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers, especially with the moves they've made this offseason, bringing in DK Metcalf. Jackson Dart thrived at throwing those deep balls to Trey Harris and Jordan Watkins. Now you have maybe the two best deep ball receivers, two of the best, I should say, in the entire NFL. And especially he goes to a situation where I don't think he's going to have to start right away. Yeah, I would really like this for the Steelers, even as a guy that I don't have even a second round grade on Jackson
Mm.
Dart, but I think it makes a lot of sense for them. For the Rams here, man, they're in a pretty good spot, I think. Some good players on the board, but I am gonna go with Colston Loveland, I think. Just go and get a tight end that can stretch the seam for you. I think Sean McVay would really love the different ways he can utilize him. I think it's I don't know that Loveland will be on the board here at 26, but if he is, I sprint the card in if I am the Rams. I'm going to take him here at 26.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic move, to be quite honest with you. A lot of different ways that you could have went with the Rams there. And Loveland, yeah, just I mean, has maybe besides for the early years of Gerald Everett, have the Rams even had a tight end that could truly stretch the field in the Sean McVay era?
I don't think, not that
I
I
don't
can
think.
recall.
I think that's a really exciting prospect for them. And Sean McVay is just, I mean, it's really not talked about as McVay as being not only one of, if not the best coaches in today's NFL, just one of the best of all time. I mean, the guy has got time and time again turned a roster that you don't think is going to be competitive into such a competitive team, minus the 1 year after the Super Bowl, where
Yeah.
they did also have quite a bit of injuries as well. But yeah, I love that pick. I mean, just hear me out on this. Doesn't Kenneth Grant just seem like a Baltimore Raven pick,
Yeah, a little bit.
right? But I'm not going to go that way. But I feel like it just makes a ton of sense here. Now,
Yeah.
I really want to improve I want to improve on the safety room, but there's just no one here as of right now that I think would make a lot of sense. I feel like what is Marcus Williams is still a free agent, correct?
I
I don't think.
believe so, yes.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm trying to look for maybe someone that yeah, I'm not a fan of this honestly. Uh if the Ravens didn't have as many picks as they did, I'd say they'd probably trade out of the first round, but they have like a bevy of picks. I could improve the pass rush. That is something I don't like James Beard as a Raku makes a lot of sense here to be honest with you. I was just trying to get around it. I think
Yeah.
the interior of the offensive line is something that they could look to improve, but yeah, the way that the board has kind of fallen for them right now isn't really too kind. I'm going to take a look at some other players here just to make sure I'm not missing anyone. Yeah, I don't feel like this board is just not kind for them right now. Jalen Walker probably would have been my selection if Ezaraku wasn't on the board, but Ezaraku is still here. They truly do value production. A Boston College first round pick has worked out for them quite a bit so far in
Yep.
his career. So I think they go back to the well and they take Ezaraku here.
Yeah. I was hoping you made that pick because,
Yeah, I was just trying to look for something else because it just seems like a pick that like it's so like, oh, Ezaraku, easy. I'm
yeah.
just trying to make sure cover all my bases with the board there.
Yeah. I picked 28. Interesting spot here. Can I see the edge rushers here? Because I
Yeah.
think you cut to Darius Smith. I still think you can improve the pass rush. James Pierce is good. James Pierce is like a top 10 player in the class for me, but it's really hard to find a team that needs his skill set. It just is. I think he's a great athlete. He does not feel like a player that Dan Campbell would draft, though. I think Michael Williams feels like a Dan Campbell draft pick. I'm going to go with Jalen Walker here, though, because I think he gives you a little bit more flexibility. He can play linebacker for you, can play edge for you. I think he makes a little bit more sense here. So I am going to take Jalen Walker at pick 28.
This is a team in the Commanders that I feel like you as well as me just kind of don't have a concrete idea of where they might go in the first round.
Yeah.
I feel like corner would just be the easy way out here. I'm going to go wildly off the board here and say because look, yeah, did they have a great rushing attack this year? They certainly did. But why was the reason they had a great rushing attack? It was Jaden Daniels. It wasn't B Rob. That's for sure. B Rob was pretty terrible this past year, 799 rushing yards, and he's so one dimensional too. He doesn't really give you anything. That doesn't even phase my pick, what I'm going to make here. because Eckler is not someone that at this point in his career is going to be an every down, run between the tackles type of guy. I'm going to go wildly off course here, and I'll probably get roasted for this, and I really don't care. I'm going to take Travion Henderson here at number 29.
Whoa,
Yeah,
whoa! I
yeah.
thought you were setting it up for Omari and Hampton, and then
No,
you
I'm
were
going to take Travion Henderson, and really, what the only thing that separates Omarion Hampton and Travion Henderson for me is the pass blocking ability, to be able to picking up blockers and being that extra offensive lineman for your running quarterback, your running superstar. His blitz pickup is probably second to none in this class, and that if you ask me my top three running backs, it would be G&T, Henderson, and Hampton, only because I think Henderson can do everything, and then a little bit more than Hampton because he's a better pass protector.
that was off the board. Was not expecting that one.
Yeah.
At 30, I'm not going to go off the board. I'm taking Kenneth Grant. If he falls here, I think you sprint the card and you need help on that interior. I think Kenneth Grant next to Ed Oliver would be a pretty good duo. So I'm going to take Kenneth Grant there at 30.
Yeah, I that just makes a ton of sense. That my only rebuttal would be Xavier Watts, but we spoke about that already. I'm just checking out here. I want to see because I know they signed Jalen Moore to a relatively decent sized contract. Josh Connerly makes a lot of sense here, and I'm going to make this pick, and the reason being is just the overall. I'm going crazy the last couple picks. The overall versatility on the offensive line. I'm going to take Donovan Jackson here at number
Yeah.
31.
Yeah. As soon as you said versatility, I knew it was going Jackson.
Yeah, I just think Jackson is someone that, even though you did sign Jalen Moore to a 2-year, $20 million contract to probably be your left tackle, Donovan Jackson, someone that could play on the interior. He could play the right. I mean, listen, this offensive line is so bad that you need versatility. He could play left guard. He could play right guard. Hell, he could line up. I mean, they don't need a right guard. They don't need a center, but he could if you needed him. He could
Yeah.
play both tackle positions. He's extremely athletic. Donovan Jackson to me is a sleeper in round one here.
Very interesting. I don't hate it. I think that's an interesting pick, and he does give you that versatility. My final pick here at number 32. I think I'm going to go Michael Williams for the Eagles. You know they love their Georgia defenders. They are, I believe, they're looking to trade Bryce Huff. They have some moves there on the edge rusher position. They lost Josh Sweat. They're going to need to improve the defensive line a little bit, and I think Michael Williams, high floor run defender, really high upside though to develop into a really good pass rusher. The tools are there. I'm going to take him to finish out this class at 32.
Yeah, I'm just letting you know I'm definitely downloading this image for tomorrow. That is I mean, we did say at the beginning we were going to have fun. We were going to have a crazy mock. I feel like it really the first half was relatively calm. I feel like the second half after the Walter Nolan pick, I feel like just completely went off the rails. But that's the NFL draft. I think that's what a lot of people have to realize is that everything that you think is going to happen is not going to happen.
Yeah.
And I mean, listen, am I just trying to cover my ass for my last two picks of Travion Henderson and Donovan Jackson? No, because I genuinely think that there is a situation where Washington could go completely crazy and take a running back. Why is it so crazy? Wasn't Jaden Daniels their leading rusher? Why would you have the running back position if
Yeah.
if Jaden Daniels is your leading rusher? I think Henderson would make a ton of sense. I just love the parody. I love that we're able to go so crazy, off the rails with this, and I'm just glad that we were able to do this again, dude.
Yeah, this was a ton of fun ideas that I haven't gotten to experiment with that I think turned out really fun. So yeah, it's a ton of fun, and we definitely gotta do this again.
Yes, we'll be coming at you again with another one relatively soon, and who knows, we're going to go way past the first round in the next one.